Welcome, everyone. Welcome to today's podcast. I am super excited because this next guest was actually mentioned to me when I was on someone else's podcast. And it was, no, you have to have this person on your podcast. You think alike, so you have to have him. So I just want to go through because I don't normally read from profile, word by word, but I just love the way it was set out that I really want to read this. So today I'm here with Paul Leendertse.
Yep,
Paul Leendertse.
Leendertse.
Yes. He's the author of Root Cause of Cancer, the founder of Root Cause Institute, which teaches root cause practitioner training for getting to the root cause of cancer and other psycho-emotional based diseases. Before going online to teach the root cause of cancer, Paul lived with cancer patients for over 10 years period for a 30-day at a time, focused only on identifying and resolving the root cause of their cancer as a team. Paul and the clients that he work with him have a 90% success rate, healing without any treatments or any alternatives. Only the root cause was the focus, since all of his clients were either at stage 3 or stage 4 cancer, and after have tried everything they could, both traditionally and alternatively. And I am super excited to hear all about it. Welcome, Paul. Welcome to my podcast.
Thank you so much. Thanks for the introduction. That
Wow.
was nice to listen
Yeah.
to.
Yeah.
Mm,
As I said, when I started reading it, I don't normally read it like that, but I thought this is the process of what I want to really, really make sure that our listeners and our viewers really get to the bottom of it, because it's something, like I said to you offline, it's something I believe in so much. That's how I healed myself with the cancer, by healing the root cause. I went back to what's causing this in the
mhm.
way I did at the time. Obviously, it's not the way you're doing your practice, but take us on this journey, Paul. So what made you get on this journey to really get into the root cause of, diseases, and how it helps helps cancer patients?
Mm. Well, it started off, I was a holistic lifestyle coach many years ago, back in 2008 already, when two people close to me developed cancer. And they actually applied everything I suggested they do. I was hip to all sorts of holistic lifestyle factors, organic food, juicing, all of these things. And that experience was a tragedy. Both of them ended up dying, and they didn't just work with me. They worked with the naturopaths, they worked with oncologists. So they both did a combination of traditional and alternative approaches to destroying their cancer. And because they both didn't heal, it exposed me to just this really painful and revealing kind of reality, which was that both tried traditional and alternative and didn't heal, right? So what it did to me, and also it made me have to question myself, because I was already a holistic lifestyle coach and everything I thought was what you need to do didn't work. So that was in 2008. And long story short, because of a few experiences that had happened that I was aware of, it really connected me to stress itself, like the stress that went on in both of their lives. And so it sort of launched me into, I just developed a theory then. Well, first of all, I questioned the entire theory of cancer, the mainstream theory of cancer, what it is, why it appears. And then I developed a theory that perhaps cancer is occurring because of stress. And that led me to working with many clients with cancer. I wasn't really planning to do that, to work with people with cancer. I was just going to write my book. Yeah, so that led to a theory that I had, which is that stress must be the cause of cancer,
Mm.
because it was just a logical conclusion that I drew. Um, because we detoxified, because we cleaned up the diet, because we destroyed the cancer with traditional treatments and did all these things, that both of them still ended up dying of cancer. So
Mm.
what could we possibly have missed, And the thing that I knew we had missed was stress. That's what it made me realize. So after I wrote my book on the root cause of cancer, explaining, and I did some research on cancer, figured out some important things. Like cancer is not just some kind of a random cell. It always
Mm.
has unique characteristics, actually. It's not just a random thing. It absorbs huge amounts of sugar. It always produces lactic acid, especially if it's growing. It produces a lot of lactic acid. So why is these unique characteristics always the case? So this led to me having people who read my book ask me if I could help them. That's basically what happened, and they were people that had tried everything to heal. It didn't work. So we just went straight to, let's talk about stress.
Mm.
And so I've been doing that work for 15 years, and it's taught me just an immense amount of knowledge about the root cause of cancer. And it's made it very clear to me. Like if you've gone through experiences like myself, working with lots of different people with cancer, you get to a point where it becomes obvious. It's just without a doubt. It's not a belief system for me. It's like, this is how it actually works. The root cause of cancer is psycho-emotional. It is unresolved stress. It is related
Mm.
to like what's going on in our life. We need to look into our childhood. We need to look into all of the things in our life that are related to our emotions, our emotional well-being. And it's so essential to really get this and understand this, because so many people otherwise don't prioritize that in their healing process, right?
Right.
Instead, all these other things are prioritized when that is the root. And that's the thing. You got to pull it out by the root to heal. So the sooner humanity starts to really realize this, and more people are realizing, for sure, there is an awakening happening. Like cancer is related to stress. So it is starting to reach more and more people. And I'm so happy about that, of course. I'm excited about that because now we can actually do something about cancer for real. The war on cancer has existed for 100 years. And what kind of progress has really been made? I mean, maybe there's more advanced treatments that can destroy cancer in some cases. And I've had lots of clients that have had success with chemotherapy, but their cancer comes back like 1 month later sometimes, a few months later. Sometimes it doesn't come back for like a year, but when it comes back, it's also way worse. And I don't know how many clients I've had who've told me, I've told nothing else can be done. So we got to get to the root of it. And when that becomes like actually understood and how this works, and I teach this in my training too, so I've really been in this a long time. So I understand now how our emotions affect our physiology. I didn't understand that way back in 2008, when I was trying to help my family members with cancer. Today, I understand how our energy system works and how our brain is connected to our organs and different parts of our body, and why stress occurs in specific spots. Why it is that people can be healthy, totally healthy, following a great lifestyle, thinking everything's great, and then all of a sudden they have a lump in their body. Like, what the heck's going on? You know, it's because it's not related to lifestyle. It isn't. You can be eating organic food, you can be just so healthy and still develop cancer, because cancer is psycho-emotional.
Going back to it, and you're saying that, stress causes cancer. Now, I agree with you 100%, because if you asked me, were you stressed, Grace, at the time you were diagnosed? For years, I was stressed. So much was happening. But what happens when someone actually says to you, they're at a point in their life where they're trying everything, like we said, but they come to you and they say, well, Paul, well, everyone stresses. Why doesn't everyone have cancer?
Mm.
What do you say to that?
Yeah, it's a good question. Well, first of all, a lot of people have cancer. So a lot of people don't realize that the statistics are about 1 in 2 people are developing cancer
Wow.
today.
Wow.
So cancer is way more prevalent than a lot of people even know. So that's one thing I would say. The other thing is, it's not that stress itself is the cause of cancer, because stress is a normal part of life and it's a normal part of us growing and evolving. So, to be more specific, it's chronic stress that gets unresolved. And then that leads to us having no choice, really. Well, unless we have the tools and the awareness that we need to grow through the stress. Otherwise, and that's what I teach in my training today for cancer root cause practitioner level 1, we have to have the tools. This is a big problem. We don't have the awareness and the preparedness for life. So we go out into life, we hit stress, we don't grow through it, we don't resolve it, and that leads to suppression. So then the only way that we can continue to like hold life together, hold, hold whatever it is together, is to cope. And one of the ways we cope as human beings is to just suppress a part of ourselves, like suppress our emotions, suppress our anger, maybe suppress our whatever, our fears. And that is what causes cancer. So it's not just that stress causes cancer, it's that chronic stress leading to unresolved stress, leading to suppression of a part of ourselves. So it's a survival, it's a psychological way of surviving, psycho-emotional way of surviving.
Right. And so let me ask you this then, because talking about suppressing your emotions and things like that, or, your traumas and everything, in society now, yes, men are opening up more and more, which is amazing. But you've got a lot of men that have, they've been told their whole life, no, be strong. You can't show emotion. You can't, you can't show your true feelings, blah, 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 blah. So they're suppressing a lot. They're human beings like us women. So do you find that there's more men that are diagnosed than women when it comes to that, or it's really generally either or?
I think it's either or. Like in my experience as in this root cause work, the vast majority of my clients have been female. I have far less males that work with me. I definitely have lots of male clients, but mostly females. And there's different, I have different assumptions or philosophies of why that might be. One reason might be that women tend to be more open to feeling their emotions typically than men. So that might be why I have more clients over the years that are female, because females tend to be ready to do psycho-emotional,
Mm,
growth, personal growth. Whereas, yeah, men can be a lot more uncomfortable with actually connecting to different emotions because society trains men overall to be afraid, to be afraid of emotions. And it's ironic because to be a real man, you need to be more fearless than suppressed, right? But
absolutely.
yeah, society makes it difficult for men in many ways to experience their emotions. But also, what can happen is men can tend to be much more inclined to be angry and aggressive in their stressful encounters with relationship challenges, Whereas, so women can also tend to be a little bit more suppressive of their anger. So women can release their, let's say, sadness more,
Mm,
but men might be more blocked to that, like crying. But women are oftentimes more suppressed with their anger compared to men, who are way more likely to just explode and be, aggressive. And this sets up like really complex dynamics that are important for society to begin understanding and actually addressing. And that's one of the reasons why I think the root cause of cancer is so essential to really start to understand and take seriously, you know, because that's when we can really truly be motivated to change aspects of our lives and aspects of humanity to start addressing stress, because if we address stress truly and start having um, progress with that, improvements, it means life will actually get better, emotionally, like more happiness, more feelings of prosperity, of peace, of safety, of love, of purpose, of like confidence and freedom, and all these things that are not stress, right? So stress is like really damaging. And if 1 in 2 people are developing cancer and the root cause of cancer is actually stress, we have a big challenge in humanity. So it's so essential for the root cause of cancer to start being taken seriously.
Yeah, I agree. Because, like you said, it's not just the when I say superficial stress, is like it's not like the layer on top. It goes deeper. The stress is that we're holding, like you said, as a child, childhood traumas or teenage traumas. It could be anything that's happened in our lives that we've suppressed so long that
Hmm.
people think, oh, but I love my job, and it's not about that level up here. That's just like the icing on top. It's not the actual cake. And that's what you're getting to. You're saying, what's the root of it? Where does it stem from? And of course, yourself working with people, I'm sure there's so many self esteem issues, so many not feeling loved, not feeling good about themselves, all of this sort of stuff. So there's so much. That they would be holding on to, like you said. But yes, the emotion of a woman, she doesn't blow up as much as a man would, but she'll cry a lot easier than a man would. But but
Hmm.
yeah, I've got so much written down now. But that 1 in 2 people is just really profound. It's such a scary number. That is such a scary number, knowing
Hmm.
that there's so many more people, and the world is turning on its head at the moment. So what happens? Like, where do you come into the people's lives, whether it's whatever type of cancer, I believe, that you work with, if I could say that?
Yeah.
Where do people sort of come and say, well, you know what, Paul, I need to read your book. I need to talk to you. I need some answers. Do you think that the majority of them, like you said initially when I read out your profile, are they the people that come in at stage 3 and 4 and say, I've got nothing to lose? Or have you had others that have come a bit earlier because they want to get this thing moving and, fixed ASAP?
In the past, it was only stage 3 or 4 people with cancer coming because this root cause work really wasn't understood. It's not wasn't even like a serious thing. But now today, I think that I probably have maybe 25% of my clients come um, early on, like early stage cancer, and there's still the vast majority of people though have tried everything else first and then they're ready to do the root cause work, then they realize, because it's hard to believe this, there's so many approaches to cancer out there, like so much emphasis on strengthening the immune system. Like, I mean, of course we would want to strengthen our immune system, right? But actually it doesn't have anything to do with our immune system. And that's a theory, but if you just pay attention, you'll start to realize, and you got to be exposed to these examples, which I have been for years, and other people that help people with cancer would too, that people have healthy immune systems and they develop cancer. It's not about that. And you can detox. And, I've had clients that have optimized their immune system to the max. I mean, eating organic food, juicing, fasting, um, and still their cancer doesn't go away or it comes back. So it's not even about that, you know.
Yeah, because when I speak a lot about, to the women I mentor or whatever, I always say, you'll see it on all my podcasts. It's probably a repetitive thing. I always say, you've got to fix this. You got to fix the soul. You got to go deeper. You got to fix the mind and the soul, because if not,
Wise.
it's gonna come back. I
Hmm.
always say that. And like you said, when you hear of women or men or whoever that that the cancers come back, I always look at that and think, what didn't you change? You're still carrying that. You're
Hmm.
still carrying some trauma. You're still carrying some stress. And I see it. It's not because I'm psychic or anything. It's because it's a common denominator.
Hmm.
Every time someone has said to me, Grace, my cancer's come back, when they start talking, I look at things, I hear them, I listen. That's why God gave us 2 ears. I listen and I
Hmm.
hear it and I think, there it is. Can you hear it? And they go, no, I don't know what you're talking about. Because, I went back to work as I almost did. And then I did this. And then I went and did everything. And I'm like, can you just stop? Cancer stops you for a reason.
Wow,
Stop.
that's really good advice.
Yeah.
Yeah. Hmm.
Because like we're saying, it is deeper. Look,
Hmm.
My thing is, Paul, I always say to people, take a step back, take a giant step back and look at the bigger picture and
Mm-hmm.
look at what's happening in your life.
Mm-hmm.
What happened prior to you going into your doctor's office because you found a lump, or
Mm-hmm.
you started having blood in your urine, or you started having other issues?
Mm-hmm.
What happened prior to that? And when I say that to people, they just look at me, think, well, what are you trying to get to? My life is perfect. And I think, well, honey, if your soul was perfect, we wouldn't be having this conversation, because I'm not perfect.
Mm-hmm.
I'm 6 years in the making.
And that's one of the problems with cancer, is because it's related to psycho-emotional suppression in order
Mm,
to, survive and cope with different aspects of our life and try to make it more positive, try to make it more better. But it's actually not, that's a way of not addressing things that actually aren't ideal. Then it leads to more and more suppression over time,
yeah.
and eventually leads to cancer. So it's scary. It's difficult. A lot of times people have cancer because they already went through a whole bunch of stress. They couldn't resolve it. So now why talk about it more? It's like just more stressful to talk about the stress. But one of the reasons this happens is, like I was saying earlier, we as human beings, our society today is not structured in a way to prepare us for life. It's not. It might be prepared, it might be structured in a way to prepare us to go into like the workforce or something. We go to school and then we learn to get how to get a job. Like it's just focused on sort of survival, money, like try to be successful. But there's not any like preparation for how to navigate stresses in relationships with a life partner, how to navigate sexual experiences, love, how to navigate love dynamics and the stages of love in a relationship that occur, and how to deal with fears and insecurities that come in life, and how to deal with money and all kinds of things that we run into. We don't have the tools. We really are not prepared, and then stress really can consume us. And so to really take responsibility for it, we gotta heal ourselves, as you've said. We have to start asking questions, and start understanding all of it, like the whole human journey. Really, just dive completely into it. Like, hey, how was my childhood? Why was it the way it was? What's been going on in my life in recent years, and why? And let's dig into it and figure out what's really going on. And then you can actually heal yourself and contribute to real positive change. Because if you have cancer today, you're not alone. We're talking like, so in terms of people not healing from cancer, 27,000 people die a day of cancer, like worldwide. So this is pretty serious. And when you do the root cause work, you're actually contributing to real change. A war on cancer has not contributed to real change. It's just contributed to more and more treatments, this focus on a cure. But meanwhile, when that is focused on, are we actually changing society? Are we changing family belief systems? Are we changing the way we're raising kids? Are we improving how successful relationships are? Are we adding more freedom and happiness to the world, and all these good things? That's not the focus, right? The focus is just like, oh, cancer appears and we don't really know why. Let's assume it's because of genetics, or assume it's because of whatever, and let's not go deeper. Because if you go deeper, it's harder. It's harder to do the deeper work, but that's where the payoff is. So
Yeah, absolutely. Because you got to, you like what you're saying is, someone doesn't want to go there. They don't want to see that part of their lives that they've suppressed so much. And they're saying to you, no, that, Paul, that's got nothing to do with it. It has everything to do with it. Everything. And I wrote here because you said, which it was happening to. Two things I wanted to say was, one of our mentors, Tony Robbins, always says, you can't say there's no weeds, there's no weeds, there's no weeds. No, there is weeds. Pull them out. Go and
that's
get them
great.
out.
I love
So
that.
he says that, you can't just go around life going, no, there's no weeds, there's no weeds. Everything's great. There's weeds. Pull them out. So that you had to go back to that. And the other thing I wanted to mention is, because now I'm going into my 6th year, and the first year I was cancer free. Stress was going to kill me. If you speak to anyone, Paul, it was fear. And I would say to people, fear has me by the throat and it's going to kill me. I'm going to die of this fear before I die of the cancer. What I meant by that is, yes, it could have came as cancer, but it would have been the fear that killed me. It would have been the stress that killed me, because now, on top of everything else, I was fearing everything. Everything was fearful. Whereas now, fear has no room in my life. I told fear to pack its bags and get the hell out. The only time I say I want fear to, I always say, do you want, the only time I ever want fear
Amazing.
to come back and visit me is if I'm on a plane and the pilot comes and says, say your prayers, we're going down. Fear, yeah, you can unpack now. But other than that, I have no time for you. Like the process I went through, Paul, to get rid of that, it was like, seriously, it was with all my energy. I said to fear, you need, and I don't want to swear on my podcast, but it was basically, you need to pack your bags and get the F out of here. I got no time for you in my life. Right. And that's where we had to change, because what was happening is, had I put that on top of what I was going through, it wouldn't have, like we're saying, it would have been another thing on top. Yes. Do I stress? Yes, we have stress on a daily basis, but the ones that we suppress, they're the ones we're talking about. The root. Go back, go dig down. And yes, it's painful, but it's going to be painful until you rip out that root. Once you rip it out, that's it. It's gone. You know?
So, and the key is to grow through stress. That's the thing we're not taught.
Well,
we're taught either to try to avoid stress, or if we hit stress, we don't know what to do with it. And the thing is, we can't avoid stress. It's going to happen, like you said.
Absolutely.
We can't pretend that there's never any weeds in life.
Yeah.
So the key is to grow through the stress, but that's easier said than done, right? But that's the answer, is to grow through it. And if you grow through your cancer experience, if you actually evolve your soul, then you can heal yourself.
So how do you get, let me ask you this question. So you've got someone who you probably energetically now feel that they're carrying a lot of pain or trauma or stress of some sort. You could feel it. It's like their aura just comes through the door with this so much pain. I think it's pain, stress and everything like that. Trauma is someone in pain. You know, my heart goes out to them. How do you get them to open up and say anything to start the process?
Well, I'm on the receiving end. So what usually happens is the person's pain opens them up. You know, like, that's one of the spiritual purposes of pain. It's to let us know we got to look at something. And, you know, that's our free will choice. So usually, always, if we don't look at it, then the pain escalates. That's how it works. So when people come and work with me, I don't try to open them up. They're ready, you know. If you try to open someone up, then it's like you're going through against free will. And free will is a powerful force. Like, we get to choose. We've been granted a pretty special thing. We get to decide what we're going to do with our life. Do we want to live an honest life or a deceitful one? Do we want to, you know, grow through life or just give up on life? Do we want to, you know, we've got the free will. How much do we want to focus on creating happiness in our life versus how much do we want to try to just cope, like with alcohol or something? There's no one comes, there isn't some kind of a divine intervention other than the fact that there are certain rules and laws that exist in this world that actually protect us, right? So if we're going off course, we experience pain, not as a punishment or something, but actually to just let us know that we're going off course. So that's the beauty of this world. And so we can really, what we need to do is trust our pain. Like, the pain's there for a reason, actually. And it's not like it sucks. Some pain can be pretty bad, like, it's not nice, but it is there for a reason. And thankfully, actually, because our life is so precious, our life as a human being is so important. That's why we experience pain. If our life starts to go, if we allow our life to start to go in a direction that's going against our life, then we experience pain.
Go ahead.
Yeah, so I don't really open people up. It's like, honestly, I don't think it's possible to open someone up. You know, it's
Yeah.
we have this power of free will is very strong. It's impenetrable.
Yeah, like you said though, the pain becomes so the thing is when someone is in so much pain, they've got one of two choices, and one of them is just to go, you know, to either suppress themselves even more with drugs or alcohol or anything, or
Which is
do
what
something
mainstream
about it.
society teaches and kind of encourages. Yeah, yeah, this is the solution. Just don't actually connect and listen to these signs. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, like one of the ladies, which is a close friend of mine. So, and I really want to bring her to you because, you know, I think she needs that breakthrough. But she's like, "Oh, I take Valium," and I think, okay, but is it because of the pain of your chemo? No. So why are you taking the Valium? She's like, "Oh, because when I do it, I just take the Valium when I go through my chemo." And I thought, okay, and again, you know, I'm speaking openly here and I'm speaking from the heart. I'm not trying to go against it, but are you taking it to suppress what you're feeling during that? Because you got no pain. So why are you taking the Valium?
Mm,
It's got fair enough if the chemo is affecting them physically and they need, you know, their body is just going through so much that they want to feel a bit calmer and sleepier or whatever it does to you, because I've never taken Valium. But or is it you're suppressing something? And I know for a fact that she does do a type of holistic medicine, that she does it on a regular basis, and that's to escape. And we've
mm,
told her not to do it because
mm,
they use it as an escape format. You know, things
mm,
we're talking like people who take marijuana. Oh no, it's holistic marijuana. No, it's not. You're taking it to escape. I know the
mm,
difference between a CBD oil and marijuana. So and then now there's the other one that's hape that a lot of people are taking, or rape, how it's called, that they escape with it. They're not using it to heal, they're using it to escape. So now all of a
mhm.
sudden, people, and like you said, the doctor, oh, are you feeling overwhelmed? Oh, let me give you a Valium prescription. You know,
Right.
oh, are you feeling not? It's like you're suppressing your feeling on top of your feeling.
Hmm. And this is part of our stress response. We have the fight or flight response. So flight is like trying to escape, right? Escape the threat, escape the fears, the stresses. That's our choice. We either fight or flight. And yeah, that's why people choose escaping, because they don't know how to actually solve the problem, because like I said, we're not prepared for any of this. So that's usually what people end up succumbing to or resorting to. And this is what I teach now in the training. This is the root cause work. It's not just about like what it means to prevent cancer or reverse your own cancer if you have it. What that really means is you start learning how to love yourself. You start learning how to process your emotions, how to navigate stressful challenges in relationship or with regards to survival and purpose in life. You learn all of that so that you become equipped to actually look after yourself, so that you don't have to escape things anymore. You can actually face things and grow and evolve your soul and grow through it. And our society is kind of designed in a way that promotes dependency. It just promotes sort of hope giving up. It just supports kind of like handing our power over, really. It's not like society really has to change in a big way to truly help actually prevent cancer. And but it all starts with us. Like society's not going to change. We got to change. We got to do it. So yeah, we have this decision to make. Especially if you have cancer, you've got this decision to make. Are you going to like, just take the pill or something and hope that somehow someone else fixes it? Because, there's always someone there that promises they can fix it, right? And there's consequences usually to that in the long run, at least, and usually in the short run too. And that's because of the spiritual guidance system of this world. We're here to learn to love ourselves. We're here to grow. We're not just here to enter the workforce. We're not just here to follow some stupid template of society, like you grow up, you get married, you have kids, you retire. It's stupidity. That's not why we're here. That's we're a soul, and we're here to rise. We're here to like evolve and really reach our potential, actually. And our potential isn't a template. our potential is a mystery, and it's actually exciting and beautiful, and we're all so unique. Like, we got to follow our path, man. So if you get to the point where you're saying, okay, I'll just take a drug, you're it means you've reached a point where it's time to actually change your focus. It's time to start mattering to yourself in a deep way and start doing this deeper work, because then not only do you reclaim your soul, kind of a thing, like literally, but you help change the world too, for real, because either we do it, or like someone's got to do it. Someone's got to do it. Here we are. Let's do it.
Absolutely, absolutely. Someone's got to start. Someone's got to get the ball rolling. But it is so true. And again, Paul, I'm not just blowing smoke. You're speaking my language, because I always talk about going back to being your authentic self. Because when you become authentic to yourself and you start living the life you were supposed to live, this is what cancer does. Cancer is that, okay, I'm gonna reset you, but you're gonna have to do it right the second time. Did I waste the time? No, it's 6 years. And like, I go for a walk and I think, I didn't heal in a year, or 5 months later I got diagnosed. It's taken me 6 years, but I had to rewire everything. I had to get rid of old beliefs out of my life. I had to start living. I had to start loving who I see in the mirror. I love myself so much when I look at myself that it just brings me so much joy. I laugh at myself. I was talking to a lady yesterday. I go to Pilates classes and I just make fun of myself, because it was who I am as a person. I want to start living. And like you said, because none of us know when we're going to check out. But if I check out as my authentic self, hey, I'm good. If I checked out trying to be something I wasn't, it's going to be a hard ride out. That day comes, it's going to be a tough one. And we don't know when we're going to go. No one knows. But, and I always say to people, you don't know how long your journey is. So make the most of it and start living the life you're meant to live. And someone I spoke to yesterday, we both said at the same time, the pandemic was a beautiful reason where people had to start living their authentic life, get rid of stuff that no longer serves you. So it's like, yes, you've got to change it. You've got to change that. Because like you said, someone's got to start. And I think like yourself and other people like you and like me, we don't sit back and watch the world fall apart. We sit back and we extend our hands saying, it's okay. You're going to be okay. Because it's not that we're more enlightened than others, but we see it. We see the potential of people. We see that we're here, human beings having a human experience, not trying to be the next Kardashian or the next whoever. You know what I mean? You're trying to be you, and that's the best version. So I really appreciate you bringing that up. Like I said, you're really speaking my language. Now, Paul, let's go back to the course or the process you take us on. I mean, I don't want you to sit here and take us through a step by step, but like, what does it involve? What can you tell us some of the things that it involves? Like if someone says, okay, Paul, I'm here. What's the process? Some of the process you take them on?
Well, there's a lot that I teach. So I have a level 1 and level 2 training. So level 1 is more focused on prevention. And that is in that course, I teach the root cause of cancer in each part of the body. So the actual cause of breast cancer, colon cancer, lung cancer, and so on, because there's all this different type of psycho-emotional cause to each of them, but it's the same. Like every time someone has breast cancer, it's always related to personal sacrifice. Every time someone has lung cancer, it's always related to unresolved grief or loss. So with all the cancers, there's a specific cause every time. It doesn't change. And it's unique though, and can be complex for sure. But so in my level 1 training, I teach the root cause of cancer so it's deeply understood, why it even grows, what it even is, and so on. And then my 15-step process for processing our stresses psycho-emotionally. So intellectually growing and learning through that process and feeling our emotions and releasing them. So that's level 1. And then in my level 2 training, that's more serious, like with regards to how deep you want to go. With those prior tools, understanding cancer, then we can go into level 2, which is understanding our childhood and the difference between our soul and our ego complex, and how and why our ego complex forms, and how that can actually lead to cancer later in life. Understanding creation itself and our power as a soul, like how do we fit into this world, understanding concepts of God. And I have a 28-step cancer reversal process in that level of training. Both trainings come with a monthly call where everyone that's taking the training always comes on and asks questions of just everyday life challenging questions, whatever it's about, whether it's about cancer or any other kind of psycho-emotional health challenge, which is pretty much all of them. Really, once you start to understand how our body works, it's really, a lot of it is emotional. It's a lot of it is stress, like, why does a person drink alcohol? Because they're not happy. Why does a person drink coffee? Because they're tired and they're pushing. Why? So I'm not sure if I answered your question. Is that
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah,
okay?
like I said, I didn't want you to have to go through a step by step, but the process of, so if someone wanted to come and work with you, like how would you take them through that process? So, like you said, you will be in contact with them, you'll help them open up, and things like that. So,
Well, what I do, if someone has cancer, they want to work with me, then the best thing is to just work one-on-one. And I have a mentorship course that's private that I utilize with my clients, so that in between my sessions, they're educating themselves with the resources that I created. And it's a huge course to take, and you just go through, and it's all about healing yourself. It's about learning how to actually take control of your body again, take control of your life again. That's a key thing. But if you're someone that's passionate about preventing cancer and really understanding all this stuff ahead of time to actually prevent cancer and not be one of those two people, then it would be good to just take my level 1 training, especially if you want to be a coach or you are a coach and want to increase your capacity to help people. So that's for level 1 and 2 training. But I've had lots of people take my training, especially now, more people are taking the training that have cancer. So they want to just come and take the training. So, then that's an option too. And I've had 4 people that have taken the training now reverse their cancer just from level 1 training. So it's pretty potent stuff. Like, when you really just focus on the stuff that matters the most, you can make a lot of progress. You can really extract a lot of value out of it. Cancer needs to be turned into a gift. I always teach it's not a gift. Cancer is not a gift. It's a messenger. And if you turn it into a gift, you heal.
yeah, I agree. Because I always say to people, it was a blessing for me, because had it not come when it came, I wouldn't have been here by now. Because there was so much in my life that I mean, I'm talking, like you're saying, about whether it was childhood or growing up. I was abused by my father. Like, he would how do you say it? He would hit me,
Mhm.
up until the age of 29, to the point where he put a loaded gun to my head. So he
Wow.
would physically beat me. So I had a lot of that, but I was able to go through the process, like we're saying, is get rid of that trauma. Like, I can talk about it now because it's not an open wound, it's a scar.
Right.
And then what I can, and I sort of say, I love my dad. I lost my dad now 2 years ago. He passed away. And before my dad passed away, I loved him because I was able to forgive myself, and I was able to see where he came from. It didn't justify what he did, but it allowed me to see both sides. And my husband, the way when he talks, because my husband's a life coach, he always says, look at things like a sphere. Never look at it in just one side. So, the moment I started looking at everything in my life, I started seeing even to the point of our relationship, because we almost, I speak openly and transparently, we almost divorced in 2017. And it was because, we were just butting heads, because he was trying to wanted me to be more like him. I wanted him to be more like me. And instead, what we did is we just stepped away from the whole thing while we were still together. And then we just shifted. We shifted the way we looked at the other person. It wasn't just looking at ourselves, it was looking at the other person. And like you said, school doesn't teach you these things. School doesn't teach you, what happens in a situation where a marriage is falling apart? What happens if, God forbid, you lose a child? What happens if you lose a job that you relied on, you love, whatever? It doesn't teach you that. These are all the emotions. When we talk about emotions, and I'm sure you agree, Paul, it's not just you needed to be sexually abused as a child and that's it, that was it. No, there's so much more to it. There's so much more. And the thing is, you get the people that, you'll get over it. You'll get over it. And
Right. That's not how to process.
Yeah. Telling someone just get over it, it's, okay, I'll just swallow that. I'll just suppress that.
Right. And there's an example of what can happen in many people's childhoods when they are upset as a child and they're having some kind of an emotionally stressful experience, whatever it is as a child. Then a parent can be stressed out or just not care or whatever and say, just get over it. And so then when they become an adult, then they teach that to other adults too, that they're in relationship with. So their partner's having emotional stress response. They say, just get over it. So this is one of the reasons why, we got to understand childhood. And I've had to heal lots of stuff inside myself in my childhood too. I've got, my father tried to kill me when I was in the womb. He tried to get my mom to lose the baby because he didn't want a child. So that's one of the things that's so important about this work too, because, well, first of all, whether you're interested in being a coach or not, it doesn't really matter. Like, this work matters as a human being, it matters to bring this knowledge to your family, to your life itself. But if you want to be a coach, it's like your effectiveness as a coach really depends on whether or not you've done your own healing work, whether you've looked into your childhood and you've done this processing work and applied all these tools and really become embodied, and then you can actually help others. So this root cause work, this isn't like a normal education or course where you memorize facts and information or something and then you reproduce it on a test. It's like you have to evolve yourself. You've got to become an example of healing and do your best. And as you do that, and you will learn and grow. And as more people do it, we all learn and grow together, so it's so meaningful to do this work. But like you were sharing with me before we started the talk, there's a lot of people out there that just don't want to even look at it at all and want to just deny that stress could have anything to do with cancer. Like, no way, and then we get back into this denial stuff, like avoidance. What does the science say? Well, the science isn't going to say much because the war on cancer isn't focused on emotional stress as the cause of it. It's not even questioning it. And then even if it did, science today is not even the most trustful thing. It's like basically boils down to money today, like how much money does this scientific fact result in? It's just like we got to take life into our own hands and start just paying attention. And that's why I always share some simple examples, like lung cancer is always caused by unresolved grief. So you can just go out into the world and see for yourself. And then you don't have to just trust anybody or read anything about science. You can just start taking this work seriously and start contributing to the root cause.
Yeah.
The resolution of the root cause.
Yeah, absolutely. And I agree, because like you said, science doesn't give you this information. Science is all about what is a physical problem? How do we fix that physical problem? What we're talking about is something that's not, you can't see it,
Mm-hmm.
you feel it, and they don't know what do you mean we feel that? Oh, you're feeling it because it's a lump? No, no, no. It's not a physical thing. It's a psychological, it's an emotional part of us. And I think it's like you said, it's really important. And I remember going to one of my doctor's appointments, this is 5.5 years later, and she said to me, Grace, why do you think, because disclaimer, I always say disclaimer, I didn't do the Western route to heal myself. But
Uh-huh.
she actually said to me, Grace, what what do you think helped you heal? And I'll never forget, I looked at her and I said, easy. I had to change the way I thought about myself. I had to fix this. I had to fix what was inside here. I said,
Mm,
that's what healed me. And I remember
absolutely.
her looking at me, because we're talking someone who's very well known in Australia. I didn't go to her because she was well known. She was just recommended. And from my GP, just plucked her out of the sky. But you know what I mean? And here I am thinking, oh, how do you mention this to a breast cancer surgeon who's, sitting there in a plush couch, that you did it naturally? But she was open to it. She was open to it, to the point that
Great.
my book that I have, yeah, I talk about it, but I talk about how you heal yourself within. That she actually says on one of her videos, someone should start doing this. And I think in that section, it was learning how to really love yourself,
Mm-hmm.
really understand who you are. And this
Mm-hmm.
is what we're trying to say. And I really want you to say everything you want to say on this podcast, because I really want to share this far and wide, because I think it's important when we're talking about the root cause. We talk about the root cause of this, the root cause of that. There is a reason why we say it. We're not, like you said, you didn't pluck this course out of a Facebook ad and hey, learn how to do this in 2.5 hours. You need to live it. You need to be
Mm-hmm.
the example. If you want someone to follow you, you need to be the example. So you want to be the one that says, hey, I know what that's like.
Mm-hmm.
And this is how I can show you. So what else would you like to share with us, Paul? Because I really want you to use this platform to share what you do.
What else to share? Well, I think I'd just like to share some there's something that you mentioned about how your father was abusive. And so maybe I'd like to just bring attention to how common that is, first of all, and not just with fathers, but parents in general. In society, there's something happening in society, and it's been happening for a long time, where in the adult world, we're all much more careful and cautious about how we treat other people, right? But behind the scenes, then our shadows come out, Then all of our actual unhealed parts and our subconscious stuff comes out. And you know who it comes out on the most? The safest relationship we have, the safest place for us to actually encounter the dark parts of ourselves, our children. So in our society, it's somehow normalized. It's kind of normalized to be punishing and shaming and blaming to kids, and it's normal to be mean, violent towards them, even abusing them physically, right? Or emotionally. But you'd never do that to adults in society. If you did it to adults, you'd get charged, actually. A lot of things that parents do to their kids, if they did it to another adult, they'd get charged and probably go to jail or something. So our children are actually mirrors. So the reason your dad was so pissed off at you at times that he would abuse you is probably because you were mirroring something back to him that he had not taken responsibility for yet. He was not actually, and this is because, again, we're not taught what spirituality really is. And my definition of spirituality, because there's probably a ton of definitions, right? But mine is a devotion to looking at ourselves and changing ourselves as we learn more about why we behave and think the way we do, so that it becomes more and more in alignment with the truth and love. Looking at ourselves, and we're not taught that. So if we have a challenge, we go to the outside to try to fix it, first of all. So look for a cure, for example, or take a drug. Or if we have a relationship challenge, then we just find fault in the other, but never find fault in ourselves, for example, and all of this keeps getting dumped onto our children. It just keeps going into our children. So it's so essential to realize that as a parent, I would love if humanity started learning parenting, right? That's another automatic thing. It's just like, yeah, everyone can be a parent. Anybody, just go and do it. It'll be fun. It's exciting. Just go be a parent, right? And then, like, when you actually have a kid, then you realize, oftentimes people realize, oh my God, it's actually a responsibility. And everything that you have inside yourself that you don't understand yet, potentially, that is out of harmony with truth and love, is going to be dumped onto your child. So we got to practice forgiveness of ourselves. We got to practice devotion, like real spirituality, and use our children as mirrors, so that if our child's crying, let's figure out what they're telling us. If our child's throwing a temper tantrum, what are they telling us? Like, what's going on in our life that is making it so that our child is a problem, So
Yeah,
rather than abusing them and punishing them and so on.
Yeah, yeah. Because I always say that, when one of the things that I love doing is, I love sort of looking at things on a psychological pathway, like psychology type to a point. But again, I'm not judging the person. I'm trying to look at how did that person get to there. And then I always say it starts off at home. It starts off at home with your parents. What happened as a child? Because a person doesn't get to that point unless something happened as a child. So I always say that what happened as a child, and going back to spirituality, like we said, the word is now just bastardized. I like to say, everyone just, I'm spiritual. I always say
Right.
spirituality is something that we do, not what we talk about. So that's what it is. It's
I like
when
that.
your energy shows the spirituality. You don't have to
Action.
say it.
Right.
Correct.
Yeah.
Your actions, exactly. So, and it's so true, because we all have that. Because some people think, oh, you're just on this airy fairy path. No, we're all born in a spiritual way. When
Mhm.
you die one day, you'll understand what oneness means. You'll understand what great spirit means, or whoever you believe in. You'll understand that day. So start understanding it now, that you're put here to be the best version of yourself. And yes, going back, like, you touched so many key points as me as a child, and like my father, he was sexually abused by an elder woman. He was 9 years old, and he was sexually abused by a woman in her 20s. And my dad had this thing about hate. He hated women. All women were sluts. All women were no good. And God gave him 4 girls, 4 daughters.
Wow.
And yeah, so, and he was like, it was even more. So it was crazy. But like I said, did I say, oh, well, he's got an excuse to doing what he did? No. But again, if I look back, like we're saying, you look back at his childhood. Well, my father was, he was beaten because his parents both passed away when he was only 5. So then his whole family at the time were just, they weren't even adopted out, they were fostered out. So he was going from house to house to house to house, and people being like a little kid, it's not part of the family, or he just
Oh,
lives off
wow.
us,
Yeah.
and they
So
just
he
used
did
to
not
abuse
receive a lot of
him.
love.
He didn't have any love, correct?
Mhm.
See, so he wasn't able to show love. My father told me he loved me 2 years ago when he was dying. I
For
was
the first time.
51 for the first time. All right.
Mhm.
At the age of 51, I got told, I love you, Grace. At the age of 41, my mother told me, when she was dying of cancer.
Mhm.
So I was, you know what I mean? And that was the only time, when I say I joke with my husband also came through his childhood. He was fostered out as well and things like that. But we when we say we joke, we will see like a loving family on TV, and we say to each other, oh, did your parents do that with you? And we both look at each other and think, no.
Mhm.
And it's something that we carry in our lives as adults, like you said, and it's a matter of finding that inner child and looking at it and saying, you're okay, you're going to be okay. I held my inner child so tightly, and I said, you are going to turn into something amazing. let me tell you, hang in there. And you know what I say
Mhm.
to myself, Paul? I look in the mirror and I say to myself, you know what, Grace? I've got your back. I've got your
Nice.
back. I'm always going to
Mm.
be here for you. And that self-talk that we talk about, that self-healing, getting rid of the root cause, and because you got to, you know yourself too, Paul, because I don't want to keep you too long. You take away the pain, but you got to fill it with something,
Right.
you know?
Yes. Yep. And that can be hard to do because of our childhood again, because the childhood created the pain, but then also didn't teach us what to do without the pain. So
Yeah.
there's like two steps there.
Yeah.
One of the things that one of my philosophies that I teach is that we may very well be a victim in our childhood. Like we may have actually been a victim of violence, a victim of like neglect, a victim of, kids can be seen but not heard and all of that kind of stuff because our parents are stressed out or traumatized themselves, like you're sharing. So we may very well be a victim in that way. But once we become an adult, we have to take responsibility for ourselves and make sure that we are no longer a victim. And that's how we stop the generational traumas. And yeah, by the way, this is why cancer runs in the family, because of psycho-emotional stress being passed on. So um yeah, there's
Yeah.
lots of meaningful work to do today in humanity. So thank you for you doing it, and thanks for having me on this podcast.
Paul, I appreciate your time, and I thank you for doing this sort of work because, like I said before, we need more people like yourself out there to really, spread the message that it's not just about the sickness, but it stems deep down, and things like that. It's not because you ate an extra orange or an extra Tim Tam. It was because you're also holding some stuff you got to get rid of. So I thank you again.
Mhm.
Now, Paul, where can people find you? I'll make sure I have all the links below, but where
Ah,
can people find you?
my website's rootcauseinstitute.com. Um,
Beautiful.
I can never remember. Yeah, that's right. Or it's therootcauseinstitute.com, but you'll
That's
figure it
okay.
out.
I'll make sure I have it in our link below. So
Uh-huh.
again, thank you, Paul. Was there anything else you wanted to say? Any parting words before we
That's
leave?
great. The time's perfect for me. So,
Beautiful. Same here. So thank you, Paul. Thank you for being on my podcast. And thanks for everyone who took the time out to listen and to watch us today. And like always, I wish you so much love and light.